Tens of thousands of people are building rows of Noah's Arks. No one dares to slack off even a little, because the Ark is the only hope for humans to survive. Turns out scientists detected this disaster 3 years ago, so they secretly started the project early in Tibet, China. And each Ark can carry over 100,000 people, except for world leaders and top scientists. Everyone else must pay €1 billion for a ticket. At that moment, a mega tsunami hit the US West Coast. Even Ford-class carriers were tossed around, but the wave didn't slow down at all. It swallowed land with total destruction. But the US wasn't the only victim. Other nations faced disasters never seen before. An 8-magnitude quake was just an aftershock in this chaos. Even Mount Everest was drowned by the tsunami. Then billionaires worldwide got an encrypted text, urging them to board the Ark quickly. That's when Luke realized the disaster was here. As a regular guy, he couldn't afford a ticket, so he rented a plane with a watch worth $100 grand, planning to escape with his family. On the way, Luke called his ex-wife to bring the kids. He said he would be there in 5 minutes, and warned that California was about to sink. But his ex thought he was crazy, and hung up without hesitation. But then the house started shaking hard. She realized he was telling the truth. She quickly pulled the kids under the table. Right then Luke arrived. He had no time to explain. He just yelled for them to get in the car. Then Luke slammed the gas and sped away. The ground behind them collapsed wildly. Houses on both sides fell apart. 2 old people blocked the road ahead, so Luke swerved onto the sidewalk. But the overpass was collapsing. Luke had no choice but to floor it through. But when Luke finally made it to the airport, he found the pilot he hired was dead. So Gordon, who only took a few lessons, was forced to take the cockpit. The quake raced toward the airport at high speed. The runway was getting swallowed, but Gordon hadn't done pre-flight checks. So Luke shoved the throttle all the way forward. The plane took off right before the runway collapsed. They watched the city sink into the ground. Their hearts stayed heavy and shaken. Then Luke pulled out a map he got days ago. It showed the Ark was in Chuming Valley, Tibet. But their plane couldn't make it that far, so they landed at Las Vegas Airport, planning to get a bigger plane. But the place was already in chaos. Everyone was trapped there. Then Luke saw his boss was there too. His assistants found a dual control jet. Gordon and the assistant flew it together, and they got out safely. But the flight to China was way too far. They needed to refuel in Hawaii to make it. But they didn't expect this. Hawaii had turned into a sea of fire. They had no choice but to keep flying. Luckily, strong plate shifts a few days earlier made them reach Tibet earlier, but sadly both plane engines failed one after another. They had to crash land on the glacier. In panic, the boss had an idea. There were cars inside the cabin. They could drive out while it slid, using the runway to escape. But the assistant pilot didn't make it. He went down with the plane off the cliff. Just then, several planes carrying rare animals flew past. They thought they were saved, but Luke and his group were denied without tickets. Only the boss had a ticket, but he ditched his girlfriend. Only planned to take his 2 kids. But Luke didn't give up. He led his group forward. They found a car just in time ahead. The driver heard Luke's call, and kindly took them away. Meanwhile, the White House team reached the Ark. They stared at the massive wonder before them. The VP couldn't stop praising it. Then Sater called in. Dr. An asked quickly which cabin he was in. But he was still in India. The plane meant to pick him up never showed up at all, but it was too late to say anything. A massive tsunami was rolling in.
Goodbye, my friend.
The would-be savior was abandoned by mankind. He and his family vanished forever in the waves.